Hey guys, welcome to the Perfectly Wasted Podcast. I'm the host, DullOxide. Today is episode 44 on Harry Potter. You can find all my previous episodes on the Drinking Wisemen YouTube channel, along with my bi-weekly podcast, Brew the Truth, all my day-to-day photos and cosplay photos on my Instagram, at DullOxide, which more than likely will have quite a few more photos after the 4th of July weekend when I'll be attending Anime Expo. And again, there will be a slight pause in episodes during that time as I will be out of town. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about Harry Potter today because the very first book inside of the series, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, came out 20 years ago today. Now, if you live in America, we know this by a different name. We know it by Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but the original title was the Philosopher's Stone. Now, that doesn't really change the book too much, but obviously it just makes it so that we won't have this version of the book that I have a photo shown of, which is actually a rarer version of the book apparently, and if you do happen to have the Philosopher's Stone version of the book with the Hogwarts Express train on it, apparently they're worth quite a bit of money. Now, the version of the book that most of us have is the one that I have pictured here also. It's the one that is, of course, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So, this is the version I own, and again, there's not really any difference unless you're like a big collector. So, this book, a little bit different from how most people started reading Harry Potter. For me, I didn't really grow up with it. I know a lot of people started out their teenage life or their young adult life reading through these books and really enjoying them, but I actually was recommended them when I was about 18 or 19, and at the time, I think it was Order of the Phoenix was just about to come out. It was coming out maybe a week after I was recommended these books. So what basically happened is I started reading the books and I just blew through all of them. I was totally interested in them. They are great books. I really enjoyed them. Obviously page turners for me. I just shattered them, went straight through all of them, and then went and picked up the Order of the Phoenix, and it was just really, really awesome. So basically at this point, since I am a pretty big fan, I do own all of the books that I have pictured here. I have read all of the books multiple times in multiple different orders just to make sure that, basically I just haven't missed anything, and I like to reread them and just see all the different little intricacies that I might have forgotten about over time. I do watch the movies on a semi-more regular basis. We actually kind of consider them Christmas movies, so we watch them around Christmas most of the time, just kind of to start it up again. And since they do kind of coincide a little bit with Halloween, a little spooky, we kind of go through and watch them during that time as well. Also, when I was reading through the books, I was quite interested in how they might go through and be producing some of these scenes for movies, because some of them are a little grand, if you will. The stuff that they're saying is happening just seems really ridiculous and fucking awesome, and you would imagine that it'd be the coolest fucking CG that you've ever seen. There are different scenes that I wish that they had gone into quite a bit more than they did, but I understand time constraints and obviously monetary constraints, because some of the CG obviously costs a shit ton of money. And as an example of this, for instance, one of the scenes that they took out of the Philosopher's Stone / Sorcerer's Stone movie was after the dragon was hatched, after Norbert was hatched. The thing that happened inside of the book, at least, is that Harry, Hermione, and Ron go and they take the dragon up to the astronomy tower, and they give it to Ron's brother to take back to a Norwegian colony with him, basically, to be raised with other dragons. And this is all kind of under the cover of their cloak, at the time that they could all fit under the invisibility cloak, still with a fucking dragon with them. But I think that the reason that they didn't include this in the movie, they just kind of pushed it to the side, and they explained it away, kind of thing, with Hagrid going and saying that he was sent away, essentially. And I understand why they kind of did that. I imagine mostly it was because since you can't cast a dragon, it all has to be CG, and at the time when the dragon was supposed to be being sent away, essentially, it was quite a bit larger than the version that we saw sitting on the table that hatched from the egg. So more than likely they just went ahead and, pushed it aside, as I said, because it's just not cost effective to have that much CG, and at the time they probably didn't know how well the movies were going to do. Now, obviously now, we know that the movies did pretty fucking great. You know, obviously they came out with 8 fucking movies, 9 if you count the Fantastic Beast movie, and they've been continuously releasing Harry Potter stuff and coming out with Harry Potter themed things since then. It is really tremendously blown up in the last 20 years. And honestly, all I could do is hope that it continues on this path, because I really do quite enjoy it. You know, I own every single one of the books, I have every single one of the movies, and I even have the newest book that came out, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is written in play format, which I thought I was going to fucking hate reading, but honestly, it was extremely enjoyable. The storyline was just as you would imagine. I could totally see it just meshing right in with the original books, and I really would hope that they come out with more, even if it's in play format. That'd be fantastic. Now, if for some reason you have read the books and not seen the movies, or seen the movies and not read the books, my recommendation to you is to check out the other media. It is quite different in some ways. Obviously, there are a couple of little details inside of the books that the movies kind of leave out, and the movies do take some liberties with some things, changing it up just a little bit. You know, both are great in their own right, but I do prefer the books over the movies just because they just have so much more detail inside of them, and in my opinion, they're just better. Now, the movies by themselves, standalone, are great movies. Honestly, the first few movies I wasn't the biggest fan of, but, you know, I really do enjoy all of them. I would recommend checking everything out. If you like sci-fi, fantasy, magic, that kind of stuff, these are definitely your books. It's one of my favorite book series of all time. It's right up there. My other favorite book series, you know, obviously I really enjoy Ender's Game, which I've spoken about in different podcasts before. I also enjoy the Discworld series, and I have read, you know, the Percy Jackson series, which was okay, and also the Twilight series, which basically I only read because it was so popular. At the time I figured, if it's this popular and people are talking about it this much, it could be just like Harry Potter, or maybe it's just as fantastic as that. But obviously I don't have a tween girl's heart, so it just wasn't there for me. Now, with that being said, I did enjoy pretty much every portion of all the movies. As I said, as standalones, they're pretty great. The only thing that I was just slightly disappointed in is in the very final movie, I kind of was disappointed that the Battle of Hogwarts did not quite go as it did inside of the books. I was really looking forward to the different fight scenes that they described inside of the book, with Mrs. Weasley and McGonagall and Voldemort and everyone shouting back and forth, and, you know, just the way that the magic was supposed to work just really pulled it all together inside of the book. And in the end result was inside of the movie, where they had the falling off of the bridge kind of scene, just was not as good. They spent, I feel like that was like an eternity in the movie. They spent so long doing it, and they did not allow scenes that I felt would just have been amazing in the movie. Instead, by doing just, you know, we fall off a bridge and we tumble and fall, and then we get up and we cast spells at each other. And it was really just not as good in my opinion. Now, did that make or break the movie? Not really. I mean, they added a lot of scenes that were pretty good that weren't inside of the book, that they elaborated more on. You know, like the blowing up of the bridge. They took a pretty long time doing that, but obviously, in this case, they had quite a large budget, so they were able to go through and just literally blow their budget up. You know, just the amount of explosions and destruction that were in this last movie, they split it into 2 fucking movies. You know, like, there was just so much, they had so much budget that they just figured, fuck it, let's do it. And honestly, I really wish that they would have done that with some of the other movies. You know, Order of the Phoenix is a pretty big book, so there's no reason they couldn't have split it off, and honestly, it just could have been longer. Now, I understand that most people probably think that they did it just for Hollywood reasons, so they could go through and make more money, which more than likely was their original intent, but Since some of the later books are quite long, I think that they did make the best choice by splitting the final book into 2 movies, and they probably could have done that with some of the other ones. I will continue to be a fan of this, probably forever, for as long as they continue to come out with movies and books, and I do really enjoy all of the newest media. I am looking forward to all of the different movies and books and series that are going to be coming out based on this in the future, and I do really enjoy this type of book. So, with that being said, if you do have any recommendations for any books that are similar to Harry Potter that, you feel like I might enjoy, or even any movies or television series that might be good, please do leave a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to check it out. And, if you have any questions about the series, please do, go ahead and direct message me, comment, ask. More than likely, I've read the books and seen the movies so many times that I've really lost count at this point. Congratulations, Harry Potter. 20 years old now from the beginning, and, you've been doing a great job. Just keep it up. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And again, that was 10 minutes perfectly wasted.